Yeah, fuck off. We don't want you here. Go away.
No, I'm just
We don't want drones flying over.
No, it's just... Dan 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 dan.
Let's hope the men in white coats are on their way.
Dan 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 dan.
This is Pure Audits. He's on his way to a building site in Witney. I don't know why he's carrying a puzzle box. Ours is not to unravel these great mysteries. He is a puzzle box, isn't he? Christ alive.
But today I've come to I think it's a building site called Dixon.
I'll explain. The site he's at is some sort of building works being carried out for a bioscience company in Witney called Abbott Laboratories. And what he's done so far is that he's cycled along here, which is Range Road, and continued along Range Road past the Abbott Laboratories main entrance here. Then he's turned here onto Norrie Avenue, which is also publicly maintained, and he's continued right to the end to what looks like a rear entrance for Abbott Laboratories. Now, if we look carefully at the Find My Street information, which is usually reliable, we can see that the full length of Norrie Avenue is not indicated to be publicly maintained, and since he's stood right at the end, that would imply that he's on a private road. But the problem with that is that it's not possible to be sure whether the private road in fact starts beyond that metal fence or he's stood on it. And second, even if it is a private road, there's an argument to be made that it's still a highway, just not publicly maintained. Rather than complicate this with an extensive disquisition on highway law, my inclination is just to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he is on the public highway.
Oh.
It's a private road, you know.
Well, as I mentioned just now, it is possible that the part they're stood on is private, but I have to say that even if that is the case, it's still likely to be a highway, albeit a private road. So in any event, I'm going to have to assume that Pure Audits is permitted to stand where he is. Whether he can film there depends on what view you take of his activities. It's apparent to me that his intention is to cause annoyance and alarm for the purpose of making social media content. Therefore, his behaviour falls within the ambit of the criminal law, specifically Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986, which makes it an offence to engage in disorderly behaviour that is likely to cause harassment, alarm or distress to anyone within sight or hearing, and Sections 1, 1(a) and 2 of the Protection from Harassment Act, which makes harassment an offence.
No. Yes, I'll come down.
Pardon?
I'll come down.
What Pure Audits is going to do here is engage in a simpleton act, which I think they see through pretty quickly.
Well,
This is a private road, you shouldn't be in it.
yeah, I'll come down. I drove down. I'm here.
You're working here.
Yeah, today.
He's lying. He says he drove when in fact he arrived by cycle, we just saw it. He says he's working there when he's not. Well, technically I suppose what he's doing here is his work, which is being a professional silly bugger and troublemaker.
Wilmot Dixon.
Yeah. Why are you taking videos?
Yes, I'm working.
Doing what? Why have you
I can't hear you. Huh? No, this is a friend of mine said to me, before you, can you get me this puzzle, that he wanted me to pick him up. Right. So I had to do it before I come to work. I'm stuck with it.
Oh, mate, sorry, can I have a quick word?
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. So clear off.
Yeah.
We don't want videos taken.
This is a point where the defenders of auditors will say he's on the highway and allowed to be there. Therefore, there's nothing the occupier can do and he can carry on filming. If he was just photographing or filming, that would be the correct position. But he isn't. He's there to cause annoyance and alarm to the company and its staff and anyone entering or leaving site. He wouldn't have a YouTube channel if he didn't do that. That's the whole basis of his channel. To be fair, it is an interesting looking building, so anyone might turn up to photograph it. A genuine vlogger might say that he's there to record the construction works going on or give whatever other explanation applies. That won't happen here because Pure Audits has no interest in the site or the building. His interest is in annoying people because there's an audience for that sort of content on social media.
I've got a UAV as well.
Yeah, fuck off. We don't want you here. Go away.
No, I'm just
We don't want drones flying over.
No, it's just...
I think we could have done without the foul language. What this staff member needs to do is tell him that the company has a policy that any request for filming should be submitted in writing, and he is not in a position to authorise it there and then. And whatever Pure Audits wants to do from the public highway is his business, but his filming is causing annoyance and alarm, and so any continued filming, including by drone, would be in the face of objections to it, for which there may be consequences. If he does choose to continue filming, Pure Audits must not at any point interfere or obstruct operations and must not attempt to enter site. And the staff member can then say thank you very much and have a good day. He can then inform staff and contractors on site that there is a vlogger at the gate and there should be no interaction with that person, and if that person tries to obstruct, annoy or interfere, this should be reported immediately to the site office and the police will then be called. The point is, don't get into an argument, just set out the position clearly and firmly and leave it at that. Be professional.
I'm allowed to go over...
Private road, mate.
No, I'm just going over there.
Again, if we assume he is on a highway, then in principle he is permitted to film from there and fly his drone from there. But you will note that he has received an objection which should be taken into account and means he does have to be careful because his actions in flying a drone in the face of objections could be construed as trespass or even aggravated trespass in some circumstances. We will come to that topic later when he sends a drone up.
I'm just going over there, I've got my zoom camera.
This is...
Yeah.
You can't fly drones over this, mate.
Yeah, I'll only be, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
What part of no do you not understand? No.
I can't hear you. My ears.
Oh, selective hearing as well now.
No, what?
Sometimes when I review these videos, I have to add criticism of the people being filmed, and I have to say that I don't think these men are handling the situation very well. The auditor, we already know, is a troublemaker, and these men didn't ask for him to turn up and interrupt their working day, and they don't deserve this, but they could be more professional in how they handle him because responding aggressively only escalates it. I'm not saying they should be soft with him. They can be firm and professional, make it clear that they object to his behaviour and that any continued filming or flying the drone is in the face of their objections and there may be legal consequences. And that's enough. You don't need to use foul language and you don't need to be aggressive or unpleasant.
You're saying I'm not allowed. I am allowed. I'm just going to put my drone
You're not
up.
allowed. No.
Yeah.
You're allowed if it's a public
Yeah.
road. This is not a public road.
No, it is.
No, it's not.
It is, it's public. I come down
No.
here.
No. From
I'll
where that rumble strip is,
Yeah.
is a private road.
No,
so go.
I come down here.
I think the rumble strip he's just mentioned may be a reference to this, which I've marked with an arrow. So what the worker here is saying is that this marks the end of a public highway and the beginning of a private road, a boundary between the two. I don't doubt that he is correct, but you can see traffic signs there, which relate to the length of road after the rumble strip. So my conclusion is that the private road is also highway. So unfortunately, I take the view that Pure Audits is permitted to be there and the worker can't order him back. Whether Pure Audits is permitted to behave as he's behaving is quite another matter. I don't think his behaviour is acceptable.
I come down here.
Come down here then, should you go?
No gate, no one told me, no sign, I just come down. Yeah. You're making a mistake.
I'm not making a mistake.
Are.
No, I'm not.
You are.
You're the one that's
No,
making a
I'm
mistake. Now go.
No, I'm staying here. I've got to do my videos. I'm here. I've got to be here for a few hours, a couple of hours. That's all. Couple of hours.
They've made it clear to him that they're unhappy and won't be cooperating with him, and he knows not to go on site. That's enough. They should cease engaging with him now and leave him to do whatever he wants to do.
I thought you'd have Peter.
Hello. Yeah, I'm just here.
I've told you to clear off.
Yeah, but I'm just doing a video on
Why do you want a video here?
on Wilmot Dixon.
It's a private laboratory, mate. You can't just take video.
There you go.
That's the correct thing to do. Just don't engage with him.
There. I think we've been given the okay from the head boss who called him in and said there's no problem at all.
That's not what I heard, so unless something has happened off camera that you've edited out, unlikely, then I think you're lying. What I just heard is that the boss told the man in the safety hat to come away from him, which is the correct thing to do once you've engaged with the auditor to the extent necessary to make it clear you object to his presence. By all means, you can film the building from the highway. The issue is how you're going about it. Here's his drone footage. I think he does commit an aerial trespass. To a large extent, what follows is a regurgitation of the discussion about the law in my last video about Pure Audits, but having viewed his drone flight over the Abbott Laboratories building, I'm appalled by what I see. So it is of relevance to go through the law again. The major case on aerial trespass is Bernstein and Skyviews and General Limited, in which it was held that landowners and occupiers control only so much airspace as is necessary for the ordinary use and enjoyment of their land and the structures upon it. Above that, the airspace is regulated by the Civil Aviation Authority and other bodies. It follows from this that any flight by a drone that interferes in the normal everyday use of the premises would be an aerial trespass. Furthermore, given an objection has been raised, if Pure Audits proceeds with his drone flight and interferes with site activity on that basis, a drone flight could also be an aggravated trespass, an offence contrary to Section 68 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994. Now let's look more closely at my concerns about the drone flight by Pure Audits over Abbott Laboratories. It has to be said that most of the flight seems okay. He stays within visual line of sight, or seems to. It's hard to be absolutely sure, and he does maintain a reasonable height over the premises for the majority of the flight. Section 76 of the Civil Aviation Act 1982 states this: "No action shall lie in respect of trespass or in respect of nuisance by reason only of the flight of an aircraft over any property at a height above the ground which, having regard to wind, weather and all the circumstances of the case, is reasonable, or the ordinary incidence of such flight, so long as the provisions of any air navigation order and of any orders under Section 62 above have been duly complied with." Here is a point during the flight when I become a bit worried. He suddenly and abruptly descends in height and clearly positions the drone below roof height.
Yeah, they've done a great job here. And we'll just pan around to see an overview of what's left on the construction site.
But regardless of that, the more general issue is that the footage is capturing detail about the site that the company may not want people to know, or that may represent a breach of the privacy either of individuals on site or the company itself, or both. Of relevance here is the 2023 High Court case of Anglo International Upholland Limited and Wainwright. The case concerned urban explorers trespassing on an abandoned seminary building that was in a dilapidated and unsafe state. The claimants sought an interim injunction against Mr. Wainwright and persons unknown for, amongst other things, the prohibition of drone trespass over Anglo's site. The claimant's case was that the drones were being used to identify entrances individuals could use to trespass on site. The court drew attention to Section 76 of the Civil Aviation Act 1982, which I mentioned a few moments ago. Just a reminder that Section 76 provides that no action shall lie in respect of trespass by reason only of the flight of an aircraft over any property at a height above the ground which, having regard to wind, weather and all the circumstances of the case, is reasonable. Since a drone was within the scope of a definition of an aircraft, Section 76 applied. Therefore, the act of flying a drone at a reasonable height over the Anglo site could not constitute trespass. However, the court considered that the only reason to fly drones over the Anglo site was to facilitate and encourage trespass through recording footage, which could potentially endanger life. Alternatively, since drones were being flown low enough to provide clear recordings of the site, the height at which the drone was being flown could not be considered reasonable under Section 76. Accordingly, the court was not prevented from finding trespass by that section, and the injunction was an appropriate and proportionate remedy. The judgment highlighted the unsafe condition of a building and the risks posed to trespassers, which were crucial in the court's decision to grant the injunction. The problem we have here is that, as far as I'm aware, the court has yet to hear a trespass argument involving a drone flying low enough to record clear footage of a property, but high enough to be outside the airspace necessary for the landlord's reasonable use of the property, which is a typical scenario involving auditors like Pure Audits, and is the case here at Abbott Laboratories. However, I suspect the court's view would not be favourable to the auditor. People who go around intentionally annoying and harassing others tend not to have the sympathy of the court, especially when it is a whole reason for their activities. The builders we saw earlier made their objection to the drone flight plain. It is not unreasonable to argue that the drone flight is part of a course of conduct intended to cause alarm and annoyance to the staff and the company and provoke a response from them for the purpose of social media content, and that this course of conduct extends to the broadcasting of the content showing clear images of the site. I think Pure Audits is naive if he thinks he can just turn up at a site, annoy and provoke staff, and low-fly his drone around a building. Eventually, the courts will catch up with this unpleasant and obnoxious social media trend, and someone will stand up to Pure Audits, and his game will come to an end.